Alrighty guys, we are here with the brand new Majespector. So how is the deck? We're actually going to see it against the new, I think they're called the Suarvis deck as well. But nonetheless, there are some new Majespectors, which is the whole point of this video. So what do the new Majespectors do? Well, one of the important cards, I'm just going to pause this real quick because otherwise it's going to go away. So Yamarshi over here is one of the newer cards. So it can be destroyed by your opponent's card effects, and your opponent can't target this card with card effects. And on top of that, you can only use each of the following effects of Porcupine Yamarshi once per turn. So the main effect over here is, during the main phase, if you control Majespector, as a quick effect, you get to just special summon this card from your hand. And if this card is normal or special, you get to target one Majespector spell and set it. In addition to that, you also have the newer Link monster. This is the Majespector Orthros Nui. So this card over here just requires 2 pet monsters, which does include a Majespector, and then if this card's Link summon, you get to activate this effect. Now there's a huge downside with this though. You can't special summon monsters from the extract for the rest of this turn, except for Majespector and Draco Slayer monsters. Also add up to 2 face-up Majespector Pendulum monsters from your extra deck to your hand. Then you get to add up to 2 Majespector Pendulum monsters with different names from each other from your deck to your extra deck face up. So basically, you get to really cycle through all of the cards you need to just basically get a lot of a massive advantage as the time progresses with this deck. So basically, because it has that effect where you can only go for Majespectors, the way the Majespectors play, just for a quick little refresher, because I was thinking like, how is this deck going to be playing now? So what it really comes down to, and there is also the Exceed monster over here, which is something we'll go over in a second. It basically just spans the board with a bunch of like trash, and then they have a bunch of their smaller, monsters just existing so you can kind of stall, and then all of them kind of search out other cards. And then you have things like Tempest, which can actually negate a card over here, or when a monster would be a special summon. You also have Wind, which is another brand new card that lets you special summon a Majespector. You tribute a Wind spellcaster, and you special summon another Majespector from your hand or graveyard. And then if you tribute a monster at activation, you can just summon it from your deck instead. So it basically cycles through the cards. The main problem is that you don't have access to Kirin because, well, the card's banned. But you also have Cyclone to get rid of like another card over here. Well, it gets rid of another monster. It is a quick play. And then you have Tornado that gets rid of another card. Like, it's basically very mid-level disruption, with the exception of, I guess, Tempest being a counter trap card over here. But for the most part, the deck is not like insanely like turn 1 GG at turn 1s, sets up like a decent little board, and then it tries to kind of either grand game your opponent, or within 2 to 3 turns you can kind of overwhelm them with card advantage. But Draco over here is another newer card, and this card would have good potential if Kirin was a legal card. So it has a monster effect, it's just 2 level 4, so it is a generic, but it has that ability to where it says, if a monster is tributed while this monster is on the field, which is of course via the new quick play spell card, you get attachment material from this card to summon a 6 or lower Wind spellcaster. You know what's 6 and lower? Oh well, it's exactly 6. It's Kirin. But again, that card is gone. But that's the main part of it. And then if this card is destroy a battle card effect, you get to place this card in your pen zone. And then if it's in the pen zone, you guys can actually read the effect over here because my face isn't blocking it, but lets you add another Majespector card from your deck to your hand. So basically, you make your board, you hopefully can get some sort of advantage and survive, and then the next turn is usually where you're going to be able to hopefully win the next turn, potentially. So it's like turn maybe 2, maybe 3, depending on what you are matched up against, but it's not like a fast negate every single play your opponent does, for the most part. That's not really the goal of the deck. But as far as the newer stuff goes, yes, it makes it more consistent. You're going to be able to establish a lot more of a variety of monsters. That way you can go ahead and search out all of the key components to hopefully win the next turn. But the unfortunate part with this deck is, at the end of the day, it is a pendulum deck, and in the future, we just covered the Ice Bearers. The Ice Bearer archetype makes it so your opponent can only use 1 spell or trap. That archetype, going turn 1, like surprisingly saying, Ice Bearer is actually not too bad. If that deck goes first against any pen deck, you're going to be at a huge disadvantage. Rescue Ace is still another contender to be one of the better decks going forward. I know a lot of people think Unchained is another great deck as well. It just has a little bit more options because this deck is lacking their like best card, which again, Kirin is banned, so that is a huge thing that this deck is missing out on. But I did go over all of the new effects. Maybe we'll cover a separate video for the Suarvis archetype over here, because this is also technically new. The Silent Forcers over here. These are also like new, but we're here really to just talk about the Majespectors today, so that's what we're going to be doing. Otherwise, this video could be way too long because I do want to show off a lot. So he's got 10 counters over here, and he's going to spam the board with a bunch of stuff. And then we have the Beyond the Pendulum coming out over here, so he's going to be paying 12. And then this card over here, Exceed the Pendulum, it's just blank. I don't know why it doesn't load the picture, but nonetheless, over here, if you want to know what the heck this card does. So this card is an OCG only card, but it's pretty easy to make. It's 2 effect monsters, including a pen. Gains 100 attack for each pendulum card you control. So it gains some small stats. But then if this card's linked to someone, you get to add a face-up pendulum monster from your extract to the hand, which is basically what the new archetype link monster does from the Majespectors. And then as a quick effect, you get to special summon this card from your hand or in graveyard in defense position, one pendulum monster with a level between the pendulum scales of the 2 cards in your pendulum zone. So it has another utility for it, but it's kind of more of a stepping stone for the most part of just going for other cards. And activating more access code hog for pops is always good, and this is kind of what the Majespector archetype does. Their monsters themselves aren't like super broken or OP. It's just a bunch of small stuff to add some small little disruptions, and then eventually your goal is going to be able to, again, out-grind game your opponent. This is basically a grind game sort of a deck over here, courtesy of Yugioh's build. So I'll also give you guys the deck profile for this in case any of you guys do want to play this deck. But let's go ahead and watch the deck going second. We also got Lava Golem here to maybe deal with turn 1 boards. Because like I mentioned before, the turn 1 is not going to be insane for this deck to the point where it just GGs. You're going to gain an advantage, sure, by searching out with all your small monsters. And a lot of times, your opponent won't want to negate your Majespector effects because they're kind of just trash monsters at the end of the day. You get a lot of searches with all the monster effects, but you may need to negate that one first opening play because potentially they could actually have some bricks because the deck may need to play a lot of the pendulum cards, and on top of that, drawing some of these spells and traps can be bad if you draw too many. If you've ever played Glad Beast, it's like drawing too many Glads. Like you just kind of want like one Glad Beast and then the rest of the cards you want them to be spells and traps. With Majespectors, well, most of the monsters will send search out another Majespector card, and again, you can end up bricking yourself. So let's see how this plays out because at this point, we're top decking. Now, Majespectors definitely need to top deck a monster very, very soon, and he does top deck a Lesser Pendulum, the Draco Slayer, because it does work well with the deck because it locks you to specifically the Dracos and the Majespectors for the Link monster. So we're going to see the Link monster. So again, Draco Slayers as well as the Majespectors. That's all he can go for. Goes for the Imperm, and he's going to be able to search out. And then from now, he's going to be able to complete his pen scale, then go for all his little monsters. Then all his monsters are going to be searching out all the extra cards. So we got Tornado over here, one of their really decent cards. And again, you're just going to whittle down your opponent slowly. I mean, all he had was really like a Lava Golem to combat with, but you really need to mash a lot of monsters in the deck, and you don't really want to draw the back row because, again, the monsters will then search out. He goes for Regulus. This card is just absolutely ridiculous. Still, he's going to go ahead and destroy it. And now he's just got a Regulus, and he's got a Foxy Toon in hand. Now we're going to see another Fox over here at QB summoning itself, but that's going to be stopped. Then Pegasus is activated, going to go for a Banbuku, and he's just like, okay, he's going to be able to search out another Majespector. So a lot of stuff just comes down to getting a lot of advantage over the course of time. I'm curious to know, what do you guys think of the new Majespectors? Are they good? I mean, I feel like they do more of the same. However, if Kieran was to come back, I would say this deck has a lot more potential to be actually competitive because going forward, most Yu-Gi-Oh decks, they want to be really dominant turn 1, and this deck, it can't really do it because you're locked because of the Link monster. If that Link monster didn't have that downside effect, oh man, this deck would be like a crazy Link deck because you just get it adds so much advantage because again, you just get a special summon. You basically get this card for free, and then you get to establish your pen board and get 2 additional monsters. It's just so much advantage, and then those other monsters give you more advantage. But again, you're still locked into like, what do you go for a Draco over here? Again, this card would be good if you can then bring out Kieran. Again, that's the main problem. I know I mentioned it several times, but that's the reality of this deck. I guess you can go for this over here, where it has the effect where monster cards in your monster zone and pendulum zones can't be destroyed by battle or by opponent's card effects. But most of them kind of have that like protection immunity anyways, and like, are they going to really activate effect to destroy like a little trash Majespector? Because all this stuff, I mean, at the end of the day, like, look, now we've got like Veilers, but if you open up with let's say too many of the Majespector like back row, and then all you have is like, let's say hand traps, you have like no board, right? And that's the main problem. And then if your opponent establishes a board, negates your first play, that's where Majespectors can fall short very, very quickly. And he ends up getting hit up by the Raiden over here, the Interdimensional Kaiju. And then he's got the Vada the Emblem wandering. I was actually kind of excited to see someone play Blackwing because it happens to see some play like once in a while, and he's playing some like weird like synchro variant. It looks like with Bist over here. But I haven't really seen any new variants of Blackwings in a while, so let's see how this actually plays out. Well, I'll tell you what, when this deck gets like all of the back row, basically, once your Pensco is completed, you got triple cards, and all the monsters are just going to kind of recycle some of the stuff again and again. And then also we have the Pegasus over here, giving them a little bit more stats, but being able to tribute one to go for another one. That way, even if they do negate something, right, you get to just get rid of it, bring out something else. Again, Kieran is so required for this deck to be good. That's all they need. Wait, we're not on Ice Barriers here. Let's go to the replay over here. I love how fast you can do this. So I can just hit export over here, and we get the deck profile from one of the players over here. So let's go to the Majespector one over here, and let's go sort. So this is one of the variants over here that you guys can see, and this card is still blank over here. But Nibiru is probably pretty good for the deck, considering, well, you do need to try to deal with things turn 1. If you go second in the stack and your opponent already has an established board, it might be a little bit rough over here. So this is another one by a player over here. So you guys can have 2 different deck profiles to kind of get you started, you know, in terms of ideas. But again, if this card comes back, this deck will actually be really good. Does it need to go to 3? I mean, to be honest, it's the, you can only use this effect of Kieran once per turn anyways, but at the end of the day, this will just make the deck so much better. It's so weird because if you go to the Majespector archetype, because I was thinking in my head, they don't even have like a high one. It goes for like, it's specifically wind, right? Where's the, one of the newer cards over here? It's one of these over here. Yeah, so this one lets you summon a level 6 or lower wind spellcaster. You know who happens to be a wind spellcaster? This card over here. So it's just unfortunate. If we go to monster, I guess you could technically go for other things. It doesn't actually lock you to it. If I go to spellcaster over here, if we go to the Majespector, there's literally only one level 6, and it's crazy that it just specifically says 6 or lower, which basically is Kieran and everything else. So if this card does come back, I could see this deck again being quite good. But anyways, that's going to be wrapping it up. Those are my thoughts. Let me know yours down below. If you guys enjoyed the video, drop a like on it. If you're new here, hit subscribe, turn the bell so you don't miss out on when we hopefully get Kieran back in the game, Kappa. But big shout out to my homie Riv for sending in the replays. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.